back to another episode of 5 Minutes with Jesus and Jesse. And I look like a bum, but obedience does not care what you look like. So we are here doing the next video. And this one, we are jumping into Ephesians. And I will also apologize. My entire family is in the living room, so if they are loud, I'm sorry. So Ephesians 6 is where we're at, and I read the first portion of this, and by that I mean 4 scriptures, and I have a whole video on it. So here we go. Children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord, for this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. If you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you, and you will have a long life on earth. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. So you read this at surface value and you're like, yes, children should obey their parents, right? Yes, agreed. But there's more to it than that. So it's not only a command for children to obey their parents, but it's also a command for parents to instruct their children. One of the most important jobs that we have as a parent is teaching our children obedience. We have to teach them right from wrong. We have to teach them living in a world that we live in that is full of sin, what it is to be disobedient and what it is to follow the ways of the world and which way we should go and how we should follow the Lord and do the things that He's instructed us. And my dad used to always say as a kid, anytime that he had to discipline us, he would say, I do this because I love you. And I always thought that that was a cop-out. But when you become a parent, you understand why that is so true. And I tell my children when we have those conversations after they have had discipline, and I say, do you know why you had to be disciplined, what you did wrong, and why we had to discipline you? And I say, it's because I love you. If I don't teach you right from wrong, and I don't teach you this is what we should do, this is what we shouldn't do, this is how we should act, then I'm failing as a parent, because that means I don't care. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're being bad. I don't care if you're doing sinful things. If I don't care, that means I don't love you. If I truly don't care what you're doing, I don't care about you. I don't love you. So as a parent, it is my job to do these things, to discipline you, to build you up in the way that you should go. As adults, that changes a little bit. Obeying your parents turns into honor instead of obedience. And as a parent, we get to choose the way in which we parent our kids, according to His word, provoking them and tormenting them and being very harsh with them and being overcritical is not necessarily the way that we should go. We should teach them through encouragement and building them up. And discipline should not be a reaction to a situation. We should have time where all of us can kind of calm down before we come to that discipline conversation. Bring them up in training and admonition of the Lord. And admonition is a gentle or friendly criticism or warning. And so when that is said, bring them up in training and admonition. We know training comes first. We have to train first on how they should be acting and what they should be doing and how they should be obeying. And then we can be critical. So we can't leave the responsibility of training and teaching our children up to school teachers and up to other parents and up to Sunday school teachers. Those are things that we have to do as a parent. There's a responsibility that we have with that. But training and corrective discipline have to come first, and then we can give criticism. It's just like teaching a child to ride a bike. I can't put my child on a bike and then start criticizing them on how they're not keeping their balance and they're not pedaling the right way and how they don't have their hands on the handlebars correctly. I first have to teach them the principles of riding a bike. And then I can set them on a bike and let them ride. And as they're riding, I can give them criticisms. I can say, make sure you're holding it straight. Make sure you're trying to keep your balance, those type of things. I love the verse in Proverbs 22:6, and it says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. And this is very important, and also why there's such a responsibility on the parent. Because if you train your child up in the way they should go, if you teach them morals, if you teach them right from wrong, if you teach them obedience, if you teach them discipline, if you teach them and show them admonition and these things, if you train them in the way of the Lord, then when they're old, they won't depart from it. So if they do move away from it at some time, that means when they grow older, they'll come back to it. And that is such an amazing promise in God's word that says, teach them the way that they should go and they will not depart from it. So if that is ingrained in them and you raise them in this way and they know right from wrong and they know how to follow the Lord, then they're not going to depart from it. His word tells us so. So that is why it's so important as a parent for us to train and teach and admonish and discipline our children. As a parent, it's our job, the most important job you'll have as a parent, to make sure that your child knows Christ. And if they don't, that falls on you. That is your job. As a parent, it is your job to make sure your child knows who God is, and they know who Jesus is, and they know what prayer and having a relationship with him looks like through your example and through you teaching them. And so as a parent, those things that you're teaching them, they're not going to depart from them when they're older. The same goes for if you're not teaching your child the way that they should go. That's all they know. They're not going to depart from that either. So you get the choice as a parent. You have that responsibility on you as to what you want them to know, who you want them to know. So as the word says, children, obey your parents. But don't gloss over that. Children, obey your parents, but we have to teach them what obedience is. We have to teach them in the first place. This doesn't all fall on them. Some of this falls on you. So 4 verses, and I was like, this is good stuff right here. This is good parenting advice. And I really hope that you got something out of this today. And let me just encourage you as a parent, just keep teaching them. Keep teaching them, and they will not depart from it.